first of all, I just got to call out that agency and client partnerships at the level, after talking to both of you, at the level that you have, are very rare and are something to be celebrated. And so Gatorade yesterday, we talked a lot about data. And I want to start with data here as well. And to talk about, when we say that word, what does that mean to you? What data are you using right now for marketing?
Okay, I guess I'll start with that one. We have a lot of different data sources that come from both the brands and from our media partners, our agency partners, Nielsen, which is our syndicated data. So we're getting sales data, we're getting custom consumer data from our marketplace and research and insights folks, and then we're getting data on our media buys, and we're getting data on engagement, usually from our agencies, on how well our content is playing out. And it's all coming in different streams. So we have multiple streams of data. It's not usually aggregated. It's kind of a sore spot. It's like a tough one for a big company because we do have a lot of data, but it's not necessarily coming in at the same time and in the same place for us to really use cohesively.
So what do you do to organize that data, be able to do something with it?
Right now, it depends on the people bringing the data streams together. Our future vision is to kind of own our own data streams, bring it in-house, and actually aggregate it in-house, and have a whole team that does that for whoever the audience is, whether it be a brand team or a C-suite member, et cetera.
Are there any reports that you get? You're like, I'm so glad I just got this email. There is a wonderful Excel attachment, and it is going to give me truth.
Honestly,
I like when we get emails saying our content's performed well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you say your content has performed well, what are the key things you look for?
Yeah, so most of the content that we're looking at is across social or digital. So a lot of those are whether we ran a brand lift study on Facebook, or we did a pre-test metrics lab test, or we're looking at we're granular looking at how specific the content, the retention rate is, or the engagement, even going as far as the shares, likes, and comments for a lot of our clients. That still matters very much. So success is, of course, checking off the brand's goals, the brand's KPIs, but also really making sure that we hit them hard with the right communication, and whether it's through a brand recall or brand association, or just even excitement around the new product that we're announcing.
So Nestle, I'm going to take a step back for a second. It's Nestle, not a small company.
No.
And I think we should talk about the brands first. What brands that you look after and data.
Yeah, so for Beverage specifically, I work on Coffee Mate, Nesquik, Nescafe, Nescafe Dolce Gusto. But we have a lot of different categories, and Karen works across our different categories. So we have our ice cream division, which is Haagen-Dazs, Outshine, Dreyer's, Edy's. We have pizza and frozen, so Stouffer's, Lean Cuisine, Hot Pockets, Buitoni. We have DiGiorno and CPK, and then we also have baking, so Nestle Toll House. And then we, of course, what everyone thinks of Nestle in the US specifically for is our candy and chocolate brands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That just made me very, very hungry. It also made me remember that I always keep Hot Pockets at work. I feel like they are the safety net,
Yeah.
And there's some in work right now that have my name on them in the freezer. I'm one of those people who put my name on things in the freezer. Yeah.
You're making me question our target, actually. Yeah.
I'm everyone's target. Okay, so we got data with these brands we're looking after. Insight are the truths that we're looking at, the things that we can tie data together with creative. How do you get to insights? First of all, I'd love to talk about the Reach agency, which is a very unique agency because of the way you organize things around strategy and insights and activation.
Right. So I think you're saying we're unique in the respect that, unlike most creative agencies, we don't have an in-house creative director. Myself and my team are about as close to a creative director as we get. We do work with a plethora of freelancers that might have more of a copywriting or creative director background to help us bring ideas to life. But my team is really, if they were to take an online personality test, I like to think that maybe 50% would be creative, 50% would be strategic. So, and that's really important to the core of our business because clients can comfortably rely on us to know that we're not going to have the next big idea, but we're going to have an idea that's really grounded in the data and insights that they have shared with us, or for that matter, even cultural discoveries or trends or formats that we're following and tracking and feel like align really well with their objectives. So
awesome. So tell us about some of the actionable insights that you've been able to come up with for Nestle.
Yeah, so we don't originate again, usually they'll come to us and say, here's our new product we're launching. This is the obstacle from like a communication objective standpoint. So I think like Hot Pockets is a really good example. Last year, maybe you tried this, they were launching Hot Pockets Bytes. So even more snackable than the traditional Hot Pocket size that you're used to. And this was a collaboration that they had done with a bunch of different food truck chefs. So it was really unique in that the 4 different bites were actually all influenced by a food truck chef. And the food trucks, as you know, are really isolated to being known in your city. So we had to kind of figure out, what does this food truck chef that's based in Chicago mean to someone in LA? Like, why would someone in LA go to purchase this? So we got to come up with some really fun content. We actually made micro-size food trucks and hired a professional remote control driver to drive the trucks as if they looked life-size. And we had some really great content around there. And we got to do a little bit of testing to make sure that we weren't getting too far away from, obviously, the goal of, these are new to shelf. This is what the bags look like. But like, it's a big thing for Nestle. Obviously, Nestle is a brand we all know so well. Hot Pockets is a brand that has no problem being heard or known. But when they launch new products, you don't want to get lost that the new product is what you're trying to put forward. It's not just the traditional Hot Pockets. And so we did a brand lift test. We had some fun testing, 1x1 video versus 16:9. We had all different data that we were trying to. How do you know what
content is the right content to create?
Thanks to Raakhi and her team, they really do have a really strong grasp on each of the brand's identities and who their target consumer is. In this case, that's why I said I'd questioned it. It's really gamers, and although maybe you're a gamer, but it's.
I'm a secret gamer.
It's secret gamer, yeah. So it is, and it's like lunch or snack content. This specifically was. So we also really wanted to make sure that we were hitting people, at the 2 p.m. hour. It's not like specifically for these bites, it was in between lunch and in between dinner. We weren't trying to say, eat this for lunch and have 20 of them. I think that's a really key thing that we have to focus on for a lot of, at least with Nestle, for a lot of the focus is how much consumption is okay.
So when you're creating content, how do you know which channel it should go into? I know you kind of complimented Raakhi here, but like that understanding of an audience. Yep. Very valuable. Mm-hmm. How do you get to that kind of understanding of how best to engage an audience?
Mm-hmm. So we take a look beyond. So each of when we're briefed, they'll say, here's who our target consumer is. Here's like who our brand voice is. We take a look at the consumer and actually kind of take our own. Internally, we'll take our own like identity board and kind of build like, who is this person? Maybe what are they behaviorally doing online? if they're, of course, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Snapchat, what are they doing on those platforms? What are they likely to consume? What publishers are they reading? So, then we work in collaboration, of course, with the media agency to make sure that it aligns with the media investment in the plan there. And then I think once we know where everything is actually being distributed, then we really try and customize our creative for the platform in which it's being released.
So let's say, and I know this has happened to you before, like you've made creative for one platform and it's working really hard for you. Mm-hmm. Like that creative is, you get that email we talked about earlier with, with results of the week and you're like, we are kicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you do next? Do you think about going and taking that to a different platform or what do you do?
If budget permits sometimes. If we do, we try and think about it, right? I mean, it's a conversation. We don't ignore it. I think, an obstacle is, of course, sometimes how long a test or how long it takes to receive data. So sometimes you can't always be as quickly reactive as, maybe we'd all like to be. But we've been fortunate on a couple different clients to be able to see something performing really well digitally and actually go as far as taking it to TV, especially when it's worked harder than some of their AI testing that they had done in the past. So, that's really exciting and, kind of opposite of the way I'd say most people are thinking about where content goes.
Younger audiences are spending a lot more time on mobile. It's hard to read anything that our industry puts out and not trip over a lot of statistics about the shift of time and consumption to mobile. How has that that affected the way that you kind of have been creating content or think about your brands?
So I think for us, it's not about. It's funny because when I started doing this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was all about let's adapt our TV spots for video in the mobile environment, right? And that doesn't really work. We shouldn't be thinking in terms of 15s and 30s because it can be 8 seconds, it can be 7 seconds, however long you want it to be in this environment. And we also know people have a very short attention span when they're scrolling through their feed or they're thumbing through something. So the shorter the better. A lot of our platform partners tell us this as well. So Snapchat says, yeah, millennials, their attention span is not longer than 8 seconds. So if you're creating a Snap ad, we limit you at 10 seconds. Do not create anything longer than that. Or Facebook says, create something as long as it takes to tell the story, preferably under 15, because you're only going to get them for 3 to 5 seconds before you keep moving. So it challenges us to really get the message across really quickly and in a captivating way so that if we do get them longer, they stay with us. And then also, if you're making something a little bit longer, we have to think of it in terms of story arcs. So we make sure we get our point across each 3 to 5 seconds. So it depends on how long the consumer is staying and viewing your content. And if you didn't get the point across in the first 5, then what was the point of that impression, right?
Very true. Also leads towards this topic we were talking about earlier around testing and learning. And I heard in your answer there just a variety of lengths for platform, but also the story arc. What's the right way to tell this story to someone? What's your approach been to? I'd love to actually hear from both of you on this. What your approach to testing and learning has been?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of, we used to do with our media partners, put out a couple pieces of creative with low investment against a very controlled audience and see which one performed better. That was a simple A/B test. By perform better, view-through rate, those were the kinds of KPIs we're looking at. Recently, we've done a lot more pre-testing. So we've used, and I think Karen mentioned this, Metrics Lab, which gives a very robust reporting on, okay, this is where the drop-off is, this is what people are saying, this is how you can make the creative better, more impactful, this is how it's rating against your KPIs. But you do have to, it's kind of expensive and you have to plan for it at least a month before so that you can...
Time consuming.
You have the time to make the changes before your creative goes live. And then there's also, and I don't think it's available for video, Facebook offers some free tools specifically for their static creative that we've been utilizing as well.
I think that's one of the innovations that the platforms have all done over the past couple of years is make it a lot easier to test and learn. Yeah. Time is always going to be our enemy. Is that what you find as well?
Yeah, the tests are lengthy, so in time, and you also have to plan as a brand to make sure that you can go dark and not have other competitive messaging or even previous content out there. So it does take the right brand and the right time of year, even for most brands, to be able to figure it out. And then on like the creative side, we have to plan from a production standpoint to get something ready and then to go back into edit. So yeah, there's logistics, but it is really beneficial. And I'd say in particular for the really short form content when, like Raakhi said, you only have so much time to really make sure you hit someone, and it can be really effective.
Because you need attention.
Yeah.
You're going for thumbs up and power here.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you get the attention of someone in the newsfeed?
Creative. I mean, it really comes down to it. I think it's, I feel like there's two reasons you stop. You're like, this looks cool, or I already like this and I trust it. So, which I guess is sort of three. But, and so we're so lucky if we can be working with the brand that says, oh, we're already trusted, we're relied on. Like, that's far and few in between, because as everyone knows, it's very much a pay to play, right, environment. So I think it's, we're constantly trying to look at what different creators and influencers and publishers are doing, so that we can see really what's creatively becoming breakthrough on the platforms. And we take a look at a lot of formats that are performing really well in order to kind of inspire our creative. Like I said, we're not really coming up with the next big idea. It's a lot of it is like almost like a remix of something else that's out there. So, I almost call it like hacking the feed, just kind of figuring that out. Yeah.
Part of that is personalization, and this is a topic that I feel like we all need to talk a lot more about, because just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should do something. So Raakhi, I'd love to hear your thoughts on personalization.
Yeah.
And how personalized what's the right amount and what's too much?
Right. So I think like most big companies, we've been built for big mass awareness, and that's how we buy media, which is not very personalized, right? You come up with your consumer target, and everyone sees the same thing, and you're creating the same content for everybody. And we're finding that, okay, if your KPI is CPM, fine, you were efficient in the way you bought. But were you really efficient because did someone really pay attention to your content? So that's where personalization is key. And we haven't figured out the formula on how much is still cost efficient but beneficial to the consumer. But I think there are a lot of different ways you can go. So an extreme case of personalization that I saw as an example was video email messages that say the consumer's name in the video, or walking by a billboard where it changes and it tracks you through your mobile device, and it can pick up your name and display it there. That, I think, is very, very targeted and creepy, to be honest. I was creeped out. My name was used in the example that I was being shown, and it kept popping up, and I was like, oh. But there are some really smart ways that I don't think are that expensive that we can use, that you can use personalization. For example, one of my brands, Coffee Mate, has kind of dynamic eCRM program where they send a set number of emails to certain parts of their database, and they send you more content depending on where you're clicking. So for example, if I'm clicking on recipe content, then I'll get emails that are just about recipe because they know that I'm interacting with that kind of content. Or if I wrote a review on the website for products, they'll invite me to write another review on products. So on a new product or whatever they're looking for. So I think that could be a smart way. Another smart way to do it is remarketing or retargeting, however you want to talk about it. And even when I think about how we pixel and tag our sites, sometimes I'm like, it's not that efficient for us to go so deep into each SKU. It's really about, for Coffee Mate, for example, again, we have our liquid consumers, we have our powder consumers, we have our Natural Bliss consumers. The people who are interested in Natural Bliss are probably not interested in the other ones. So they should not be seeing content on those other different product lines, right? So it's about making sure we when you serve them an ad, right, it's it has the Natural Bliss family in it. It doesn't necessarily have to be that particular SKU level, like Natural Bliss sweet cream or Natural Bliss coconut milk sweet cream. But as long as it's in the family of the portfolio, it's going to resonate more with that consumer than if I just sent them the whole portfolio, creative that contained the whole portfolio at large.
Absolutely. I want to just shift gears a little bit and talk to you both about creative that you're jealous of. So, Karen, start us out. What out there do you see that you're like, you know what, they're doing it right, and we can be kind of inspired by them?
Yeah. So not so much connected to maybe from Nestle, but I think Lyft is doing a really great job with creative. I always say anything to do with a car or beverage sometimes has a little bit of an advantage because of the way in which it's used. But Lyft's surprise driving videos are really interesting. They also just recently put out it's almost like a 7-minute animation piece I thought was really great. And I think they're playing around with some longer form content, which I tend to be a little bit jealous of because as a creative, it does get a little tiresome just coming up with the 4-second video, right, loopable video all the time. So that's always really exciting. And then I mentioned this yesterday for those of you who heard, but Apple's new portrait ads that have been coming out since September are amazing to me. The barbershop one and then the touring Japan one. I really enjoy what they're doing there. The list kind of goes on. Like I said, I like to try and keep, of course, an eye and ear on everything that's kind of going on. And then I also just always think it's really fascinating, to follow what some of the top YouTube creators are doing, or when Vine was around, Vine was interesting to follow too, a lot of the stop motion artists, because I think there's a lot of inspiration to be had for these individuals that build their own audience around such a specialty. And it's not always necessarily because something's filmed so specially, but just the way, how they're so tuned into culture trends. So those are a few.
Yeah, those are all ones I'm definitely jealous of as well.
Yeah.
Raakhi, anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, for me, since we track our competitors, I'm always amazed at how often Hershey's is on air. So Reese's is always on air. And it's not expensive content. It's like animation that they just recreate or repurpose for whatever season, and they're able to be always on top of mind with their consumer because they're spending so little in production that they can push that over to the media side. And then something that I always point out to our brands when it comes to the seasonal time frame at the end of the year, Q4, and everyone wants to do their big holiday spot for the big push at the end of the year. Hershey's, again, has been running that same Hershey Kiss, We Wish You a Merry Christmas spot for as long as I can remember. I think I was a kid when they started running it, and I see it every year over and over and over again. I'm like, they're not spending any more production dollars on a new spot. They're just utilizing what they have. They know it works. Everyone loves it, and they play it again during that time. And it reminds you of your love for Hershey Kisses, and maybe I'm gonna go buy that and put it in my stocking. Just think it's smart. It's smart not to have to always kind of create and just use those good pieces and repurpose those good pieces and really use your media dollars effectively in those cases.
Yeah, there are those ads out there that have crossed over to being just classic. It's kind of even akin to turning on the 80s channel on Sirius, and you hear those. I mean, you've heard those songs many times before, but they're so good. You want to hear them again. There are definitely ads in that. I think it's good to remind all of us that there is, to look at the heritage of your brand.
Yeah.
There can be, creative classic hits out there.
Especially at that time of the year too. Yeah. That's a great time of the year to feel warm and fuzzy for something that once was and feel familiar with something.
So that is all good work. What stands in the way of good work? Raakhi?
So for us, a lot of times we have a lot of turnover in marketing, right? The brand teams turnover probably every 2 years. It's a pretty short lifespan of a brand manager even. And when someone new comes in, they want to recreate the wheel. That's where you get, I want to change this and I want all new creative. And I think that's where you start seeing low efficiency. And if you're spending all your time and energy doing that, then you kind of lose sight of the big picture. So I think that, and also being in a company, you have a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot and people to sign off on your creative, and it can get diluted along the way as you get those approvals, and it can be kind of challenging because you can have one personality that really wants to push the envelope and another that's more conservative, and the two forces are fighting each other.
Absolutely. Anything to add?
Yeah, and I mean, on our end, budget, but sometimes budget, but then more the discussion of how to utilize the budget and when it's okay to do something new, or kind of like what Raakhi was saying, like either, is it reinventing the wheel or sticking with once was? I think we just, as an agency, you just have to learn to go with the flow, and of course, be there for the brand team as needed. But there's certainly times in which you just want to like shake your client and be like, come on, Raakhi, give me what, just do what we're telling us to do. But like, that's life, so.
That is life, absolutely.
Yeah.